episode 1421 of the Multifamily Collective. Today I wanted to talk about something I heard Paul Bergeron say to Paul Marks on the latest episode of Multifamily Matters. And it was the idea or the concept that maintenance supervisors, on-site maintenance supervisors in the multifamily space, were reporting into regional maintenance directors. So they no longer report to the property manager, on-site property manager, they report to these regional maintenance directors. And there are not many things in the multifamily space that I am not open-minded about. I like to think that I embrace change, I embrace novel thoughts, ideas, and concepts. This is one particular area of our business that I really struggle with keeping an open mind, because the second you give up a reporting relationship to somebody who is not on site, that doesn't have context, whether it be intra-minute context, intra-hour context, or intraday context, if you don't have that context, if you don't understand what the priorities of the business are on a daily basis, even in a centralized environment, even in an outsourced environment, if you don't have context and you are giving direction to an on-site supervisor from afar, and that on-site supervisor's allegiance is to you, not the property manager. If something comes up at the property where property manager knows that the priority should be stack ranked this way, but the regional director thinks the stack rank should be different than that, who prevails in that moment? The maintenance supervisor is going to have an allegiance to the regional maintenance director. The property manager is going to feel like customer service is at risk, team member experience is at risk. All these things that have real context are at risk. And somebody suffers in that scenario. And my guess is more times than not, the consumer is going to be the one that suffers. But then you're going to create this conflict between property manager and maintenance supervisor, and you're going to spend a lot of your time trying to diagnose and understand what the root causes of those conflicts are. You're going to do a fair amount of coaching, counseling, and mentoring, and trying to help people understand and trying to discern things. It will turn into a fiasco, in my opinion. My premise for that remark in that position is this: at Equity Residential, we had a title of general manager. We had a scenario where you had one property manager over 2 sites, sometimes 3 sites. And you had one supervisor, maintenance supervisor, in that same sort of scenario. And many times when the property manager was at one property and assistant managers were running the other 2 deals or one deal, you had this sort of competing interest, this thing that is sort of akin to what I'm describing. You had a maintenance supervisor that was pulled in 2 different directions by 2 different masters, trying to create and administer workflow on a daily basis, but many times ended up chasing their tail, not understanding where the real priority stood. And we could all argue that it comes back to communication, but why even create the scenario in the first place? I'm curious what you think. I'm not a big fan of the idea that maintenance supervisors should report to regional maintenance directors. I've not heard a convincing argument of that. Neither have I seen that play out in the real world in a real productive way, but I'm attempting to keep my mind open here. Curious to hear what the community thinks. Thanks. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.